everybody. This is Brian King, the Resilience Warrior, and welcome to Resilience Warriors podcast. I have been diagnosed with ADHD, dyslexia, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and multiple sclerosis. I also have the privilege of raising 3 boys with ADHD and Asperger's. And I look at the challenges life throws at me as opportunities to be resourceful, because folks like us are put on this earth to accomplish great things, including coming up with new and innovative ways to solve everyday problems. And today, I have the privilege of welcoming Barton Cutter to the show. He and I were introduced in Facebook, which is where I meet a lot of awesome people these days. And he has got a story that motivates me every time I talk to this man. So I'm excited to bring him to you so that he can tell you his story and how he is using his experience with disability to change the perceptions of people around what it means to live with cerebral palsy. So, Barton, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here.
The pleasure and honor is on this side of the camera as well, my friend. Now, we were having a little conversation before we went live here, and Barton was talking about his mission, and I stopped him because it was so great. I wanted to make sure we captured it. So, Barton, what you were talking about was changing people's understanding of the definition of what it means to have palsy, per se. And your mission is to help people become unpalsied, and you were explaining what that means.
Yeah, so, in my perception, palsy goes far beyond what we perceive as disability. If you look up palsy in Webster's dictionary, he defines palsy as paralysis, which is often accompanied by involuntary tremor. Now, I find that so interesting because if you look at what happened to us when we are in a state of fear, we often find ourselves in poverty.
So currently, when you look up the definition of palsy in the dictionary, it's disability focused, which unfortunately is a lot of the descriptions from the medical model about people that are different. And what you found is it describes weakness, involuntary movements, paralysis, and imagine, and I imagine you've experienced this, where people have this working definition and they meet you for the first time and they're beginning with low expectations.
Yeah.
And that is a mountain that is so flippin' difficult for any of us to climb, to try and get back up to not only a level of equality with people, but to show them, hey, I've got something to offer you that is far beyond whatever preconceived notions you have about me.
Yeah. Well, I love what you're saying about the differences in education and the question that I would pose, and often to pose in that situation, is who has the real palsy? is it me because I don't move according to a predefined set of standards, or is it the other person who who is trapped in their limited perception of what palsy is?
Wow, that's a brilliant question. Which is who of you is most trapped?
Yes.
The one who lives with having the palsy, or the one that is kind of held by that limited perception of what palsy is?
Yeah.
That's a conversation in itself.
What I heard is that the other person has more palsy than I do, and therefore get unpalsy is not about disability at all. It's about breaking us free from our perception of reality the way we've defined it.
So being palsied isn't about being trapped within a body that has palsy. Being palsied is about being trapped within a limited belief, or limited beliefs about others in particular.
Yes.
And getting unpalsied is about breaking free of those limiting beliefs.
Yes. And
I love it. Where's my t-shirt, man?
it's in real. And when we can break out those perceptions, everything, and I need everything, is becomes possible.
I totally agree with that. And I've got some unpalsing of myself to do yet. Because whereas you've lived your life in the chair mostly.
Yeah.
And this is a new experience for me. It's just been in the past couple of years that I've gone from being very physically active to being in a chair more and more. And just last night we had Halloween, and I had to stay behind, not because I wanted to, but because I felt like I couldn't go out. It was cold. I was tired. I was having a bad hand day, very tremory, very weak. And with the cold, I was afraid at some point I wouldn't be able to manipulate the joystick on my chair, and that'd be stuck out there in the cold. So I stayed behind feeling sorry for myself while handing out candy because my boys were out there and I wasn't with them. And I got caught up in this inner conversation, one of many, about I'm their dad. I should be out there with them. These are my boys. The I'm not being a good father conversation because I'm not doing what I'm, quote, supposed to.
Yes.
And the first conversation that Barton and I had when we met each other was around the conversation of masculinity within the context of being disabled. And I'm telling you, man, I still struggle with that.
Yeah. I totally get while I don't have children yet, I've spent 37 years trying to define and refine what it means to be a man within what others perceive as a very limited body.
So in your 37 years of trying to find some kind of working paradigm for what it means to be a man living with cerebral palsy, do you have any answers?
Well, I can only speak for myself. But here's what I've come to See, masculinity for me is based in the ability to open and maintain a safe and intimate space within which other people are telling to, to be more than they are and hold them with love, power, and account- accountability for their own development.
Wow, that's I'm going to paraphrase that.
Yeah.
That's pretty profound. It's being able to create a space where people can be, I might even add a few words here, vulnerable, safe, be their best selves, hold them accountable. This, in many ways, sounds like what it means to be a full and available human being.
Yes, yes, exactly. I love that you said that. I love so, so be aware again. We're not we're not trapped by our the perception of limitation. This is this is this is about our humanity and not only our humanity but the humanity of the people around us.
And that is something that, I mean, clearly that's one of the reasons you and I get along so well, is we not only see the importance of embracing and developing our own humanity, but we're very cognizant of the impact our efforts have on the people around us.
Mm-hmm.
And we invite them to join us in that space and discover their own humanity. And there's a movement out there now, I don't know if you've seen this, of some guys that are really trying to rediscover and perpetuate the stereotype of man, the big muscles, the being macho, the being tough. And I imagine there's a place for everything. But to get angry at those that do not agree with them, that this is what it means to be a man. And they've been very, lack of a better word, slanderous against guys that they perceive as weak, soft, girly. And in many ways, what they're referring to is vulnerable.
Yep.
If you're vulnerable, if you have emotion, if you are showing some degree of openness and receptivity instead of being this big wall of a man that's tough and immovable and a protector and open to being physically aggressive. And that's what they think being a man is. And you and I are coming along and we're saying something very, very different. And yet we are somewhere on the continuum of what it means to be masculine.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You know, I, I find I find it interesting that we hold it as a bit of a dichotomy. Because what I would offer is that it's both and that there are times and places for that fearless. There are times and places for that physicality. And and yet, if you are stuck in that, you limit your range, you limit your ability to engage with the magnificent diversity of, our human expression. Um, so, so I see it as a both and.
That's a perfect way to see it. It's both and.
You know,
That there's a time and a place for each of those variations in the continuum of humanity, of masculinity, of femininity, however you want to see it. I mean, if you want to take this to the next level, you look at gay men who, many of whom that I know, that are very artistic in a way that I'm not. And in some ways that may be stereotyped, because I imagine there are some gay men that couldn't hold the paintbrush if their life depended on it. And then there are some that are very artistic, and they attribute that to their overall persona. I attribute a lot of my creativity to my ADHD because my brain is very scattered and finds interesting solutions and new paths and whatnot. So that continuum allows for a great deal of diversity in what humanity can produce for itself. So to think that, man, it has to come in one package or it's not good enough is part of that being palsied that you were talking about.
Yes,
That it has to be in one box and that's it.
exactly. Exactly. And where I would point people, because some of you might be listening to this and having some visual reactions on one side or the other. And what I would tell you is, what is it in you that is love, that is prompting that response? My, my bet would be that there's some fear there.
Yeah, fear can definitely lead to being palsied. That limiting thinking, it's the intellectual equivalent of building a shield around yourself for protection.
Yeah.
Very limited thinking. So clearly this is something that is a problem with human thinking. Again, it serves its purpose. You know, you want to say fire is dangerous. Going down a dark alley is dangerous. It's helpful to have some limiting beliefs under certain circumstances to protect yourself. But when it comes to getting to know a human being that's different from yourself, that creates a barrier that is harmful on many levels.
Yeah.
Not just between you and the other person, between you and anybody else that you might prejudge.
Yeah.
Your attitude against an entire population. So let's say people want to be able to monitor in their minds when some kind of palsied thinking shows up. When they notice it, some kind of limiting belief, what is the first thing they can do to begin loosening its grip on them?
Oh, before we even go there, there's a point you make what you just said that I thought was important. About how there are certain levels of awareness that are necessary for our survival, right? And yeah, we go on walk down a different acting on our own in the middle of the night or whatever. And what that what I hear is that is we have to have some grasp and confidence in our own resourcefulness. We have to know ourselves to be capable in some way, shape, or form in order to feel safe, opening up.
Very, very important. In order to even begin questioning those palsy beliefs, you have to be confident enough in your ability to feel safe being open to that kind of questioning.
Yes.
Okay. So let's say we've accomplished that.
Okay.
We have that fundamental comfort or feeling at home with being safe while we reflect upon ourselves. So with that initial safety, what do you then begin to do when you catch yourself in that moment where, in spite of yourself, you are judging somebody else? You are projecting some kind of stereotype.
Yeah.
What do you do with that opportunity?
Yeah. So often we get in those moments and judge ourselves or be ourselves. But for me, it's for me there are two important components. One is to be able to see it as a gift rather than, oh, dare I thought that was oh, it's the response needs to be, oh, I agree again. What can I do with and learn from here? Number one. Number two is it all comes back to awareness. It all comes back to our ability to train and deepen our awareness both internally and externally. I know that I know that like me, you've been doing meditation for years. I've I've been doing meditation for probably about 3 years now. Almost as long as I've done martial arts. And that's my foundation is the ability to stop, notice reactions at more and more subtle levels.
That's a beautiful note to finish on, Barton, that see these opportunities to question your own palsiness as a gift. It's an opportunity as opposed to, man, I'm so ashamed of myself. I can't believe I thought that way. Mm-hmm. You're too busy feeling guilty and anxious and embarrassed instead of saying, wow, what an opportunity. I get to look at this now. And it's an opportunity to deepen your own awareness, your own understanding, and most importantly, deepen the connection with the person you're with.
Yeah.
So tell us all the exciting places online where people can go and find you and learn much more about the absolutely kick butt stuff you're doing?
Well, awesome. So you can visit www.getunpalsied.com.
Getunpalsied.com. I'll put that in the show notes as well.
Awesome. You're able to book a deep dive with me, and that comfortability. And what that is a 2-hour session where we can dive in deep into whatever topic is on your mind, and we can unpack it and get some unpleasantness around it.
A complimentary 2-hour deep dive on any topic to help them get unpalsied. Not only is that generous, that is incredibly powerful, I imagine. So, folks, go ahead and look up Barton Cutter at getunpalsied.com. I'm sure you found, as I have, he's an amazing man with a profound mission, and I'm excited to see where this takes you, Barton, to see what kind of shifts you make in the minds of other people, because it's long overdue and you're just the man for the job. So thank you so much for coming on, man. It's been an absolute blessing.
I look forward to talking again.
Same here, brother. And this is Brian King, the Resilience Warrior. You can learn more about the stuff that I do at brianraymondking.com. It's been a joy having you. Thank you for your time and your attention. We'll talk again soon.
Because that was sort of a point where I was unsure of what to do, but now I'm pretty clear on it. Thank you.
Outstanding. And thank you all for graciously hanging on and giving Jeff that space and that support.
Of course. Thank you, Brian.
So it's wonderful when we have a topic, but sometimes it's wonderful to see how this all blossoms when we just kind of come as we are and talk about where we are in life. So bravo, everybody, once again.
Jeff, thank you for sharing. Actually, I think I'm going to carry that, and Shirley and I are going to sit down probably tomorrow, since it's 7 o'clock already, and we will set some ground rules talking to her family.
Sounds great.
I can't wait to hear how that goes.
Have a good week, everyone. Stay fabulous.
Take care, folks. We'll talk to you soon.
Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.